Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Sunday, the 8th of October 2017, and I'm back after a 2-week podcast hiatus because I went on a trip to France. So I'm back today and I have so much stuff to show you, but it's already getting dark outside, so we're just going to see what happens, and I record as much as I can today. Also, I have quite a lot of things to show you, including a huge basket of yarn. Excuse the hand gesture there, that was apparently necessary. So I might split it into 2 episodes. We'll just see how we go. So you can find me on Instagram as the Happy Knitting Podcast. And of course on Ravelry we have the Happy Knitting Podcast group on the Groups tab in Ravelry, which is where you can find the show notes to this and all other episodes. I also decided to bring back a knit along that we did about 2 years ago, and that is the Challenge Yourself Cow, or Challenge Cow. So it's going to work pretty much exactly like the 2015 edition of this knit along worked, and that is that the idea is to do something that is a bit of a challenge. Try something new, try something you haven't done before, try a construction that intrigued you, try color work for the first time. If you always knit your socks cuff down, knit them toe up, do something that is different. So for this one, we are not going to allow any whips. So you have to cast on a new project or multiple new projects. And the idea is that I will open a chatter thread in which you can chat about what kind of challenges you want to set for yourself. And then on October 15th, we will actually start casting on. So you can start either 15th or after that, and I want to run this knit along for 2 months, with the possibility of extending it to the end of the year if we feel like that's necessary. And you can knit all kinds of projects as long as they use a minimum of 50 grams of yarn. So I will write down all of the rules and all that in the group as well. If you do want to donate a prize because you're a maker of any kind, please kindly do get in touch. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, that's that. Like I said, I will open my chatter thread and then we can cast on October 15th. And now the light is going crazy. I am recording from our living room once again today because Kai is hogging our craft room / office space. So, nothing is working today and it's driving me up the wall. Let's just jump into some finished objects. First of all, let me show you, excuse me, I'm going out of frame there, my monkey mittens. These I won't talk about in too much detail because I talked about it last podcast episode, and I also have written quite extensive notes about these on my project page, but they are based on the Monkey Socks pattern, which is a pattern by Cookie A. And I just turned them into a mitten using my recipe, which is called How I Make My Fingerless Mitts, and that is a free pattern on Ravelry as well. I did 64 stitches on a 2.25mm needle. I only did the monkey pattern on the front of the mitts, and the backs are just in plain stockinette. And the yarn that I used is Shebot Garner in their soft sock space in the colorway Fantasy, I believe. Super happy with these. I need to weave in the ends on one, the other one I've already done. I can't wait to wear these, especially because now we came back and it is cold and really, really autumnal. I almost said autumny there. And yeah, I'm really excited about these. Excuse my scatteredness. I just came back from a yarn festival and the yarn fumes are still going high. Also, we just came back last night from our trip, so yeah. Things are a little bit all over the place. My next 2 finished objects are ones that I finished on a holiday. First of all, I knit a pair of Christmas socks for Kai, and lots of people have been intrigued about this yarn. This yarn is by Regia. It is called, the line is called Season Color, and the number I will put in my show notes. But this one, the German name for this one is O Tannenbaum, which means Christmas tree. I'm not sure if it's O Christmas tree or just Christmas tree. And you can see it's very classic Christmassy, and I really love it. I made some vanilla socks for my boyfriend Kai. I did my garter stitch heel, which is a garter stitch fish lips kiss heel, in case you're wondering. And yeah, I'm really happy with these. I knit them over 68 stitches on 2.25mm needles, and they're very Christmassy, and Kai is very excited about wearing these, so yay. My other pair of socks that I finished on our holiday is a pair of gift socks for Pauline, who's my sister, so if you're watching, please look away for the next 2 minutes or so. So I decided to knit up some of the Felici that my lovely friend sent me last year. This is Knitpicks Felici in the colorway Dark Side. And I decided to knit socks that aren't matchy but going the opposite way, so you can see the gray matches up. And then I knit one from the inside of the ball and one from the outside of the ball. The pattern that I chose for these ones is the Impossible Girl socks, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm sorry, I don't remember the designer. But sorry for the shakes. It's just a fun little faux cable which runs on both sides of the socks and continues down the foot. And I again did a garter stitch fish lips kiss heel. I think these are really fun, and I think my sister should enjoy them for her birthday. So yay! 2 pairs of socks knit in our holiday. Actually, a third pair of socks, which I'll show you now, is also quite close to being finished. So after knitting a bunch of gift socks, I decided to cast on some of these socks for myself out of a yarn that my lovely boyfriend Kai gave to me not too long ago. I don't have the tag and I don't remember the colorway name, but it is from Bärenwolle, which I'm sure you've heard of before. Vicky is a German indie dyer. I think this might have been one of her one-of-a-kind colorways. You can see I finished the first sock. It is a vanilla sock. I did a long leg, so I did 85 rows of stockinette plus 20 rows of ribbing. Again, fish lips heel in garter stitch. And I also have finished the heel of the second sock, so I just need to finish the leg. No, not the leg. I just need to finish the foot, and then we'll be done. So this is how the yarn is knitting up. I think it is really beautiful. Kaya picked this colorway, saying I should get something other than just plain pink. So I think I'm really happy with this. I really like how the colors are playing together, and the green in it is just making it a lot more fun. So yeah, socks for me also almost done. All right. So that's it for my sock whips. The only other whip that I'm going to show you today is another whip that I cast on while we were on holiday. I do have another pair of socks that is almost done, so I just don't see the point in showing it to you now and then showing it to you again next week, as it just needs a few heels. But I decided to cast on another shawl. And I decided to cast on with some yarn that's been in my stash for a while. It is actually yarn that I rescued or adopted from a lovely friend of mine. It's a lace yarn. It's a 100% lace yarn that she tried and didn't like. And I said, I would love to give it a new home. So it came in 25-gram balls. It's Diamond Luxury Collection Baby Alpaca Lace. And it is a super fine lace yarn. It's 800 meters per 100 grams, and I think it's going to make a really drapey shawl. I haven't knit with lace yarn in a while, but I thought it makes a lot of sense to use it on holidays because I didn't want to carry too much yarn with me, and with lace, with one skein, you can knit quite far, let's say it that way. So I cast on a shawl that is meant for fingering weight yarn, but I think it should be fine. And that shawl is by Sylvia McFadden, who is Soft Sweater Knits. Excuse the changing lights. And it is the water shawl. So she had the Waiting for Rain, and I think she has quite a few sort of rain or water themed shawls. And this is one of them. It is very crinkled because it's been sitting in my project bag in my suitcase. but it is a shawl that is knit on the bias, and it changes between garter stitch and lace that is knit in short rows. So it's the first time I've been knitting lace and short rows at the same time, and I'm really enjoying it. And as you can hopefully see, it creates these sort of wave textures, and I think it is just so beautiful. This is lace, so it's only really going to show up once it is blocked, and I think this yarn should block out beautifully. But just to give you an idea, this is sort of what the lace motif is looking like. It is quite fun to knit, and unlike any of the lace I've knit before, so yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The yarn is super duper thin. I'm knitting it on 3.5mm needles, and yeah, it's quite different to the things I usually knit, but I do quite enjoy it. I also do want to knit this pattern again in a thicker yarn at some point. Plus, I want to knit all of her patterns because every single one of Sylvia's patterns is just stunning. So maybe we should start a second knit along for that. Let me know if you're interested. So yeah, that is my lace shawl. I should probably tell you the colorway number. It is colorway number 3730. But I don't know how old this is or if you can still buy it anywhere. I have not that much idea about this yarn. But I'm so happy to be using it. I just caked it up because it was in 4 25-gram balls, and that just seemed easier to carry around. So that's it for the whips that I'm going to show you today. Like I said, I have one more pair of socks on the go, as well as a shawl that desperately wants its lace border attached, so I shall get on that very soon. Whew, let me have some tea. Sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place today. I started the day off by being super tired, and instead of calling back my grandparents, calling my car mechanic on a Sunday morning. That was fun. And yeah, I would blame jet lag, except there's no time difference between France and Germany, so I'm not sure what we can blame. Maybe just the change of climate. Let's blame it on that. I'm having some, I think, green Yannon tea that Kai made in my Berlin mug, which you should see like that. Man, I should really just breathe and calm down. It also probably doesn't help that I've had excessive amounts of coffee and nothing healthy to eat today. So now that I've sped through works in progress and finished objects, I'm sorry if it was all over the place. I'm feeling much calmer now. I'm going to be honest. I have a huge amount of stash to show you, as well as just a general chatter about our trip to France and stuff like that. So if you're not interested in either of those things, I will just see you next week. And if you do like a good haul, you will enjoy this video, because I'm kind of ashamed about how much yarn I have sitting right next to me. It is ridiculous. But some of it is souvenir yarn, which I have been told doesn't count for stash, and the rest, I mean, the yarn festival only happens once a year, so I decided to go nuts. So how should we do that? Let's see. Oh. Yes, and stuff is falling everywhere. Okay, I have a huge basket of yarn. I'm just going to leave it on my lap. I will start with the acquisitions from our trip. And these are not going to be in the order that I found them. But you might remember from my last France trip, I brought back quite a few balls of Bergère de France yarn in their Gumi 50 base. Bergère de France is a commercial sock yarn company from France. And this is the one colorway that I always wanted and didn't get on my first trip. So when I stumbled across it this time, I decided to get it. I think it's a really beautiful, soft, wintry colorway. Maybe this can count for Christmas socks, I'm not sure. This is the colorway. And they come in 50-gram balls, so I got 2 balls so I can make 1 pair of socks or 2 pairs of shorty socks. And the other ball just dropped, so here we go. Then we visited Avignon twice, and the second time we went, I really wasn't looking for yarn, but on this trip, I swear you guys, I kept on stumbling into yarn stores without even looking for them. That's the good thing about France. Apparently people there like to knit. So I found this adorable shop. It was this tiny store full of weaving and sewing and lots of cross stitch all over the walls and cross stitch kits, and it was an amazing place. They had a bit of yarn, and this is yarn that I've always wanted to try. It's again commercial spun yarn from France. It's Fonti. I believe that's how you say it. I've seen it on French podcasts before. And this is in their super tweed base, and it's 220 meters per 100 grams. I think that's like a DK2 worsted. And look at this color. I'm so obsessed with tweed, which you will see in my later acquisitions. So I got 2 balls of these, and I'm really proud to say I have a pattern for this in mind. This is going to be a hat for me, most likely the Fall in Love hat by Herbstblatt Regina, which she gifted me that pattern, I think, a year ago, and I really want to knit it, and I think tweedy cables in this shade is going to be amazing. Also, I look like a sheep. So yeah, super excited about these. It's a 95% wool and 5% mohair yarn. It is washable, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Very excited about this. I'm just going to throw all the yarn on the ground next to me. Next, on my first trip to Avignon, this was the one yarn shop that I actually looked at before we went. It was this really adorable shop that sold yarn as well as tea, which are 2 of my favorite things. And ta-da-da, ta-da! I was so excited about this because, again, I was really looking for French yarns on this trip, of course. And this is a French indie dyer who I've never heard of before. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I will show you the label. And the dyer actually has an Etsy store. So I'm super excited because I love their yarn, and now I know that I can very easily get more. And the 2 colorways that I got were the first 2 that I saw and immediately grabbed. And so in the end, I decided I might as well just get those 2 because I loved every single colorway that they had, but these were the ones that I saw first and fell in love with. So this one is called Legende, I guess. And the other one is called Enchanté. And like the speckles in this yarn is just beautiful. She apparently does have a sock base, but these are in her 100% merino base. I might still make them into socks and just use a yarn with nylon for heels and toes, but I might also just use them for something else because these would make a beautiful sort of brioche shawl or something like that. Very much in love with these, possibly my favorite of my purchases in France. And of course, I will link the shop in the show notes. Next, the one last thing that I got in France, I got in Arles. It was a really tiny yarn store. It was really cute. And they had yarn that comes from sheep from the Pyrenees in France, of course. And they actually dye it in that shop. So I thought you can't get much more local yarn than that. I was really excited just about that. So this is 300 meters per 100 grams, and it is an 80% wool, 20% ramie base. This is beautiful. It is very woolly and rustic. Like, it might look soft, but it is definitely not soft. It's quite scratchy, but I really like that about it. She said it would be great for socks because of the ramie content, and maybe I'll make mittens out of it, but I wouldn't put it on my head or definitely not around my neck, I think. But I just thought it was really pretty and, of course, very local, which is very important to me when I buy yarn on trips. So that's my last purchase from France, and I'm really happy with it. When I got home last night, there was a package waiting for me, which is the Yarn Club from Nicole C. Mendes, who is a German indie dyer famous for her stripy yarns. And if you're not in the club, I will show the yarn now. If you are in the club and you haven't received your skein, please look away. All right. So the October skein I was really excited to see is Halloween themed, so it's called Haunted House. And yeah, I really like this. Most of Nicole's colorways so far have been very bright and colorful, and I really like the sort of darker Halloween-y shade. I'm not sure if it's like 4 or 5 stripes in here, but it's very pretty. It could make a nice pair of man socks, but I might also keep it for myself. I am planning to knit quite a few more pairs of Halloween socks, so yeah, I'm very excited about this. So weird, I thought this was going to be a super long episode, but now I feel like I'm just speeding through. So I still have a full basket in front of me because, like I mentioned before, today I went to a yarn festival. Look at my basket, isn't that insane? So the yarn festival that I went to is in Vaterstetten, which is near Munich, and it is, as far as I know, the only yarn fest or festival in this region, and it's the only one I go to. So it's only once a year, so I just decided, why not go crazy, and yeah, it's only once a year. So I bought quite a few things, and again, this is not in the order that it belongs. But there was a booth from a dyer who I'd seen the yarn before. I think I'd seen her Etsy store once, but I've never actually bought her yarn. And that is another local dyer to me. And I actually met her. She was very nice. And that is Herzkönigin. So this is the label. Again, I will link the Etsy store in my show notes. And when I got to this stall, I was all shopped out, and I really didn't want to get any more yarn, but what they had was just amazing, and the variety of bases and colorways really appealed to me. So I got 2 skeins. I got 1 skein of BFL because I've been wanting to get BFL yarn for Kai. He's very, very hard on his socks, and someone suggested that BFL socks might be the way to go for him, which is a really, really good idea. So this is in the BFL sock base. It's called Kühle Wespe. It's a 75% BFL, 25% polyamide yarn, and the yay, oh my gosh. What is up with my words today, you guys? The Grello just absolutely spoke to me, and I knew that Kai would love them, and he does. I bought quite a few skeins for Kai on this trip. He wasn't there, so it was really hard to pick, but he does love this. I also got a skein for myself, because I had to, because they have a really nice sock base called Fleet Feet, and that is an 80% wool, 20% high twist yarn. And just the way that it feels when it's plied is really beautiful. I think it's a 2-ply. So this is what it looks like, just to give you a close-up of the yarn. And if you're wondering why it is in this weird shape, it came in like a beautiful nest, but I really wanted to open up the skein, and to this date have not figured out how without breaking the ball band. So I've been like trying to untwist it and look at the colors and make it all ugly. But it is really, really beautiful yarn. And again, I'm super happy that I splurged and got this one for me. Next, it's kind of this thing, and I blame pretty much all of my purchases on my friend Marian, who I went with. She introduced me to this dyer called Ätherische Öle und mehr. They also have an online store. This is their card, and she always does a huge haul from them on this yarn festival, and this year I decided to do the same. So again, I was looking for socks for Kai, and I got 2 skeins for him. I don't think they have colorway names, so I'm just going to show them very quickly. So I got him this one, which is just very manly, and I wanted one that is sort of normal and one that is crazy, so this is sort of like the normal one, and then he wanted a crazy one. So this one is quite Halloween-y, which I thought was quite fun as well. So I got these 2 for Kai, and I mean, is there any yarn that looks like this and doesn't have my name on it? I got this one for myself, as well as a really colorful one I actually really like this one. It has so many colors in it, and I think it'll just make a very, very fun pair of socks, either for myself or for gifts. So I got these two for myself. Next, I tried to go in with a plan besides the sock yarn. The thing that I wanted was maybe a sweater's quantity of yarn if I found one, and also I want to do some color work mittens. So we found this amazing sheep wool that's super, super sheepy, very rustic. And what we decided to do is get 2 balls. These are very, very reasonably priced. They are 100-gram balls, and we both want to do mittens, so I'm going to split this into 2 and give 50 grams of each color to her, and we're going to do some kind of color work mitten. And that is most likely going to be my first challenge cowl project, because I really want to do some color work mittens. So I think that'll be a very fun, challenging project for me. And the yarn is from this store. I'm not going to go into detail because I think most of the stores that I'm about to show you, they don't have any online shops or anything like that. I wish I could show you guys how deliciously sheepy this yarn is. It is, I know some people would not like this, but it is just so woolly, and it smells like sheep, and it feels like sheep, and I think this will be absolutely great for color work. Talking about color work, maybe just going off topic here for a second. I've been binge watching the podcast by Ellie, which is the Skandia podcast, or Skandia Knits, I'm not quite sure. She's originally from Norway, but podcasting and living in the UK. And I've been really, really enjoying her podcast, especially because I tend to watch podcasts of people who knit similar things to me and have similar tastes, and what she knits is very different. She is very, very big on rustic wools and color work, and that's sort of like a new thing for me. So that's been making me want to knit color work, and also I just really like her way of podcasting and her way of talking about things. I really enjoy the podcast, and that is definitely the inspiration for some color work projects that I do have planned. And also, she may possibly even have inspired me to, at some point, knit the Demiaka Lopa sweater or fleecy sweater, which a lot of people seem to be knitting, which is a color work sweater that looks awesome. And that's something that I usually would not be attracted to. So yeah, if you ever watch this, Ellie, you have definitely inspired me. Let me get back my basket of yarn. So like I said, the idea for this, or the plan that I sort of made for myself before going, was to maybe get some yarn for mittens. Of course, get some sock yarn, because I always get sock yarns and I love knitting socks. And if I find some kind of interesting sweaters quantity of yarn, I want to get some sweaters quantities, because I really want to knit more sweaters. I want for this winter to start having a proper hand knit sweater wardrobe. I have 4 sweaters at the moment which I wear on rotation a lot. One of them being the one that I'm wearing right now, which is my Breathing Space by Vera Välimäki. But I just want a couple more, and then I want to actually have a proper sweater drawer. I'm not really sure when that's going to be yet, but that's something that's going to be happening. So I had my eyes on sweaters quantities of yarn. Funny thing, yesterday when we were still in France, we went into a store for men's clothes, and there was this beautiful tweed sweater. It was this light beige, almost white yarn with tweedy flecks and just a stockinette, very simple sweater, and it looked amazing. And I actually said to Kai, I would love to find yarn like that and knit a sweater. Now, look, I found the exact yarn that I was looking for. This is 100% what I was looking for, and I got these 3 skeins for like, I think, less than 20 bucks. It was sweater fate for me today. So this is pretty much exactly the sort of yarn that was used in the commercial sweater that I saw. So this is a tweed yarn. I don't think it's dyed. I think it's just undyed with little tweedy flecks. I'm not sure if they're showing up. How can I show this to you more? This was seriously the answer to all of my prayers. This was 100% what I was looking for at an amazing, almost kind of incredible price. And I just jumped on it. I don't think it has a label. It was in the sock yarn category. It's definitely a fingering weight yarn. It doesn't have any labels. I'm thinking it's probably got some sort of wool and nylon content. It is definitely not a merino. It is quite rustic, has a tiny bit of a halo. And oh my gosh, you guys, I love this so much. I think this might become a second pavement sweater because I mentioned before that I want to knit quite a few of those. But yeah, I am so lucky to have found these, and I just bought them in a heartbeat. So that is sweater number 1. And then again, must have been my lucky sweater day today, and the lighting is blowing out, which I don't like. I have a white face. Come on. Oh well. At another store they had some more delicious sweater yarn, and now I can't find the label. Anyways, I'll show you the skeins first. Sort of underneath a whole bunch of spinning fibers, I found these skeins of yarn. This is a DK, or I think it's a DK weight yarn. I think it's about 200 meters per 100 grams. And this is, again, so sheepy. It is about a DK weight, DK to worsted. It has a bit of a halo. It is, again, it's not super soft, but it's also not that scratchy. It's definitely less scratchy than my mitten yarn. It's just 100% wool in this natural shade. I don't think it's been dyed. I think it's just been spun up from some German sheep, and I just love everything about this. I feel like it was a German merino, which German merino isn't as soft as merino from South America, I think. But I can't confirm that because I have lost the card. But I'm sure I have it somewhere. But this is just, again, the answer to all of my prayers. This is exactly what I was looking for. Again, I think I got this entire sweater's quantity for like less than 30 bucks, which is insane. And I love it. I've been, again, something new for me. I've been drawn more to neutrals and undyed yarns and stuff lately. Maybe also Ellie influenced me in that way, I'm not quite sure. But I got myself 4 skeins. The ladies at the store kept insisting that I was never ever going to make a sweater out of 4 skeins, but I think I should be fine. I'm going to knit this on a loose gauge, and I never use that much yarn for sweaters, to be honest. I always have heaps of yarn left over, and that always kind of makes me a little sad because I want to use up all of my yarn, but I don't want to make sweaters that reach the floor. So anyways, this is going to be a very cozy wintry sweater. This is of course the warmer one. The other sweater is going to be fingering weight. This is going to be DK or worsted. And for this one, I might actually want to do some chunky cables. I think that would be really fun. But yes, I'm just so happy to have all these beautiful neutral sweater quantities on me now. I think that is my 3rd sort of neutral sweater quantity now that I have in my stash, which is great because I do want to start knitting sweaters that I can actually wear to work, and I think this sort of thing, if styled correctly, would definitely go for that. Also, this one is going to be very warm because this is a very woolly yarn. Yeah, I am just over the moon. I would love to knit sort of like fancy sweaters out of Brooklyn tweed and stuff, but that's just not happening for me at the moment. But this is, for me, even better because it's local yarn, and I just love it so much. I could go on about this yarn forever and ever, and I'm kind of covering myself with it already. So yeah, super excited about this. can't wait to knit it up. So, and that was the last of my acquisitions. I know it's been kind of insane. I also don't know how I got through that so quickly. It felt very quick to me anyways. So to sum up the Yarn Festival before I go back into our trip, and I would like to do that while being on focus. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. It was my second time going. Last year we went and I was completely overwhelmed, and I kind of ended up buying things that I didn't really like, and not buying a lot of things that I would have really wanted afterwards. I remember last year seeing similar things, like quite inexpensive local yarns and fibers and things, and I was kicking myself later. So this time I kind of allowed myself to go crazy and just bath in all the woolly goodness. The yarny fumes definitely got to me at some point. By the end of it, I was kind of hoping not to find more things that I loved anymore, because, yeah. But I love everything that I got, and it was a really fun experience to go again. Like I said, it wasn't as overwhelming as it was last year. Sadly, the same as last year, the weather wasn't very great. It wasn't raining, but it was very cold, so not exactly the atmosphere where you want to be outside standing and looking at yarns forever. Part of the festival was inside, which is good, but also it got very crowded, and then some stalls were outside, which is always a little sad because they had such beautiful things, but yeah. But yeah, I really had a good time. I went with my friend Marion, which was very fun. We also saw some really, really cute sheep and lambs and llamas, and yeah, definitely enjoyed it. So now I'm pretty much done with the Yarny content, so all that's left to talk about is life in general. So if you're not interested in that, that's fine. I will just see you next week. Thank you for watching. If you do want to stick around, well, where do I start? Maybe I should start with after I recorded last week, 2 weeks ago. So I recorded 2 weeks ago on the Sunday, and after that podcast was recorded, things started going south. And we discovered that not only did Kai's car break down, but also mine was like 6 months overdue for its service. So we went from having 2 cars that were driving and working to 1 car that completely stopped working and 1 car that had to go to be serviced immediately. So that was quite stressful, and we dropped my car off the same day because obviously we were going away to France very soon, and I really wanted to get it to the shop first. So we dropped off my car, and of course, as you do, the mechanic is like 2 minutes from here, but as soon as I dropped off the car, it started pouring down with rain, ridiculous rain. We didn't even make it home. We actually went to the next pub around the corner because we were already pretty soaked, but we could not have walked those 2 blocks back because it was just ridiculously rainy. Because I had only planned to drop off my car and go back home, I wasn't wearing, I think I was wearing a t-shirt under my winter coat, so I was freezing my butt off. But in the end, the good news was that my car is now serviced and I can pick it up again tomorrow, and hopefully, cross your fingers that Kai's car will recover as well. That's a lot more critical, but yeah. So we had some car troubles, which were the worst, seriously. Like, I think the car troubles themselves weren't even the issue. It was just, I was quite stressed out and ready to go away, and the stupid cars were just the last thing that I needed before going away, and yeah. So that happened last week after I said I was really looking forward to just spending my Sunday knitting and hanging out. That didn't happen. Hopefully it will happen today. Anyways, car troubles aside, I also went to Oktoberfest, which was my first time since I was like 17 or something. We went with my work, and I didn't really know how I felt about it, but it was actually really, really fun. So that was a really fun experience, and that was also my last day at work, so we had sort of like a celebratory going away work Oktoberfest day, and then on Wednesday In the morning, we took the tram to the airport and flew down to Marseille, France. So from Marseille, we rented a car and we had booked a little apartment where we were staying at for 10 days, very close to Arles. If you've been to France before, if you live in France, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a city very closely associated with Van Gogh, or Van Gogh, as some like to say. And we just had the best time. We used the apartment sort of like a base, and then every day we would go to different cities and places and sites, and we actually did quite a bit of sightseeing this time, which was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed it. Like, France is just amazing that way. Like, there are little chapels and chateaus and stuff just everywhere. Like, there's just so much history, and it's just a very beautiful countryside as well. As you know, I love fall or autumn, and France in autumn is like the ultimate dream for me. Sort of like the entire landscape was sort of like desert and green, and then yellow leaves everywhere and leaves on the ground, and it was just a beautiful scenery. Like, we drove to a lot of places, and just the driving around was just very, very beautiful. We visited some vineyards and olive farms? How do you call that in English? I don't know. And we sampled a lot of olive oil, and of course we sampled some wine, and we had crazy amounts of good food. Way too much food, to be honest. I fell in love with fish soup, which was, oh my gosh, it was so delicious. I don't think I've ever had French fish soup before. You have it with like little pieces of bread and cheese and a sauce, and it is just the most delicious thing ever. We also drove down to Camargue, which is another area in France famous for the white ponies and the flamingos, and again, the scenery was just incredible. So all in all, we just had the perfect holiday, to be honest. The place where we were staying at was very, very nicely done up and very cozy, which was good because while it was mostly good weather during the day, it was not warm enough to be sitting outside in the night anymore. So we spent quite a bit of time in the night just hanging out at our apartment, which of course, thankfully, was very nicely done. So that made it a lot easier and a lot more comfortable. And yeah, on our second to last day, we had crazy stormy weather. So our last night, I kind of didn't really sleep because I was super worried that something was going to fall onto our car, and then I was kind of freaking out about that. But that was seriously the only downer. All in all, we had an amazing time, and it was just so needed, and it was just nice to spend lots of time together, the two of us, without work and just escaping from reality. Not that our life here is bad or anything, but I'm sure you all can relate. So we came back pretty late last night. I think we were at our apartment at like 10 p.m. or something. Cranked up the heaters because in Germany it's quite cold now. It's actually raining now as I look outside. It is very, very fall, and you can already kind of see winter coming, which lots of people would hate me for saying, but I actually really enjoy fall and winter, so I don't really care. So yeah, today is Sunday. Like I said, I went to the Yarn Festival, which was great because it gave me something to look forward about going home. And to be honest, this time I was actually ready to go home as well. Like, we had such a good time and it was so beautiful, but by the end of it, I was actually looking forward to my own bed and being at home. And also I have been crazy inspired by knitting lately. I've been stalking Ravelry and Instagram and just loving knitting a whole lot more than I usually do. And I mean, I had quite a bit of yarn with me, but I really just at some point missed my stash, and I'm very happy now to be home and it's cold outside, so I can sit inside and knit all day. Well, I could, but then there's work, right? Whoever invented full-time work. Anyways, I am just rambling now, and I'm sure you guys are sick of me by now. So if you have stuck through until now, I will try to include some videos just of the scenery and stuff that we saw at the end of this video. As usual, you guys know I'm not any good at vlogging or anything like that. I literally just take my phone out every now and then and do a quick video of the scenery and then put it back in my pocket. So don't expect too much, but maybe you'll enjoy it. If you do, let me know. And just in general, of course, as always, I love hearing from you. So if I don't hear from you, I will see you again next week. Have a wonderful week. Join us in the Ravelry group. Thank you so much for watching and happy knitting. Bye!